future where, and you were talking about the drug and the whole idea where it's
That's
just
right.
this collectivized hive mind. And I just thought of that film where the idea is that you're taking this drug to actually desensitize your humanity. And the whole point of that film was to get rid of the art and get rid of the great works that were there to be as an inspiration for people to advance their consciousness and their creativity. And we see, that slowly coming into play. And there's many ways that we see that coming in. And I don't know, it popped into my head, and I just wanted to know if you had any thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah, and there's Stanley Kubrick, Francis Ford Coppola. There's been a lot of books, a lot of, the Blade Runner syndrome. I look at it that way. I don't take these frivolously. I don't take them as just entertainment. I think there's a lot, and we're being slowly groomed. The intense. You talked about the IMAX fiasco, and, if you look into the figures of how many people, even in a recession, head down and spend colossal gazillions of money just to go to the cinema, you'd be surprised at the money that these cinemas make. Then the video games of the kids sitting at home. I'm not against these technologies, but I think the immersion in it is worrisome, you see, because these are also, let's never forget, the occult societies who know about the stuff we're discussing right here. What we're discussing here should breed optimism, because we're actually talking as the controllers speak. They know about our psyche. They know about our libido. They know about our hang-ups. And so the things that they've designed, be it religion, false medicine, the socio-political systems, the organization, that structure, all that democracy, all rubbish, all of these things that they've plugged in so that we can get involved with, it's by design. They've created the fit. So today, they knew that if religion doesn't do it, right, as man becomes more rational, the Catholic Church realized that nobody's going to be buying into this mysterium stuff. So, yeah, but can't we get them to identify with a team? Did you know that it was religion? It was the church that was behind all team sports. The first team sport was cycling, the one that got any kind of publicity and press, and then it moved from there to car racing and everything else. But the biggest influence of the church was in soccer and in rugby and in those games that we associate with schools. But it was actually the church that pushed it, and it was done before the First and Second World War, to give man the team spirit he'd need in the trenches when he's been sent to sacrifice himself. There's a direct connection here, by the way. It's been acknowledged by top historians. And the whole idea of getting one's libido out in this team collectivized movement was orchestrated and pushed by church, because church is all about conformity. Even when you come and sit in the church, the very way that you sit, the very humble, I'm a sinner, I'm in this dark, eerie world, which I can't make any sense of, and I'm probably here because I'm being punished or whatever, right? So you have this syndrome of this trembling, frightened, deeply hateful Christian, because he hates the Jews and he hates the Muslims and he hates everybody else and he hates the atheists, right? And then you got the Jews sitting there cowering in their synagogue, hating everybody else, and the Muslims ready to slice your mother, women, your wife and children to pieces. We're into democracy, right? Last year, London, the immigrants outweighed the national population for the first time in history. Do you think these people are going to give a monkeys about your democracy if they ever get their way and take over your land? What a luxury! What a luxury we've been having, sitting there with our George Washington, pictures on the wall. What a joke! Just you wait till some of these wonderful people you've been entertaining and slashing your own wrists to make them feel at home and welcome, cutting your own arteries. These people themselves will finish you off. The ludicrousness of the religious type. They've entered the world, right? The average religious person, he's not connected to nature. He's not learning from nature. He hates nature. He's thinking he's down here in this fallen world populated by devils, and he's probably down here as a sinner, and he just can't wait to get out of it and get back to sitting at the right hand of God. And then you get the scientism on the other side of the scientist, materialist, atheist, empty soul who doesn't believe that anything is animated by spirit. You're just down here in a world of mechanical rocks and mechanical, dead things, and man's job is as a survival of the fittest, manipulate nature, suppress nature. Nature's a resource. The animals can be butchered. The seas can be polluted. The skies can be polluted. It's just dead nature that you've got to learn how to suppress. There's nothing spiritual about it. Just get in there and realize it's all dead matter that you'd better be conquering, and you stand outside of it. Right? So religion and the atheists, the materialists, the scientists, the scientism, and the religiousism, the theism, has exactly the same roots of man being separate from the universe in which he inhabits. The rational mind, the scientific mind, standing there studying this alien thing. And in terms of religious people the same thing. God in his heaven and, the extended world of evil matter, I better watch. All transgression, all temptation, can't be doing anything natural, including my relationship with my body, utterly malignant. And then this is a feedback loop, because the more you project that kind of thinking into nature, nature has a strange way of making the malignancy come back to you in the diseases and the dysfunction and all the kind of malignancy we see. To add to the points you made about the aberrations, two more. One is the rising of the old diseases again, because the drugs that have been giving people, pumping into them, is now making lowering the immune system, and the very old malarias and E. coli's and all sorts of other major diseases are on their way back and are skyrocketing in hospitals. Then the employing of all these immigrants in the hospitals, right? They're extremely unhygienic. They don't even know what you're talking about. They don't wash their hands, so to speak. They're working in the kitchens, so they've no. This is not me saying this. This is facts. You can go on Wikipedia, go anywhere and discover this. That the skyrocketing escalate in diseases coming out of the hospitals. And also in the meat. Right, in ordinary domestic shopping centers, when you go to buy the meat, they've discovered that almost 50% of the meat, even more, is contaminated. This is official reports from official bodies. They're saying that some of the most of the meat right across the board now is so contaminated that that's going to bring people's health down low. So I talked about a super drug on a more of a psychogenic, psychological, psychotropic level, but there's also another counterpoint to this, which is the state of decay physically, right? The people's immune systems being purposely lowered because there's so many drugs that they're pumping into themselves, and that the government insists on vaccinating you, weakening the spirit, and when weakening the body, I must say. When the body is weakened, then of course everything else goes with it. Or let's say that your attention is now. But just as I said before, when the Catholic Church started to realize that their power was slipping, they said, man will identify with a team, won't he? We don't need him to identify with our bogus pantheon of ludicrous pagan gods. Give him a team. Give him a company and a corporation. Give him a political purpose. Give him neocons, conservatisms, liberals, social democrats. He'll identify, he'll wave that flag. Give him communism. Let's sit back and give him all these isms and watch him work. He doesn't need our God. He can still have that if he wants. But these Jesuits are not stupid people. They're very clever. They said, give man endless amount of other things. Every clique, every faction that he could possibly want. Factions within factions, cliques within cliques. He'll join. He'll give his lifeblood for that. He'll turn up 80,000 people to watch a football game, but he couldn't turn up 5 people. One of the great constitutional groups of America, one of the great constitutional groups, had to ban one of their had to stop one of their yearly meets because not enough people showed up. One of the most important constitutional groups whose work is so fundamental. I've mentioned them on my forum. Okay, these are people who are tutoring the whole of American society how to get out of this constitutional Bill of Rights nightmare and get back to some proper, rules and regulations and systems of government that are so much more benign. We can talk about libertarianism in a minute. But this is these sort of libertarian groups that are wonderful. Nobody votes for them. These people shoot down any concept of the kind of, three-party system we've got. Offer wonderful things in an instant. You're free of federal government. You're free of federal control, right? You're free of any big government control. All of these things come immediately and instantly with the libertarian pattern. And yet nobody votes for it. They can't even get people to turn up. So, but 80,000 people would turn up to watch some game.
Yeah.
So the church knew this. This is all coming out of the church. And the church for thousands of years, even before our modern times, you see, what we're dealing with is all these things that have come down to us, all the institutions that our forefathers stupidly bought into, are born out of a malignant patriarchy. You don't need to be against patriarchy any more than you're against matriarchy. But there's malignant versions of that. The Judaism that we have, the Islamism we have, this whole Grecian model of the Constantines, and then the versions of Christianity that we've got are extremely aggressive, deeply anti-natural. In other words, malignant patriarchal models. These are some of the things that need to be deconstructed. But they need to be deconstructed intelligently, not just by a bunch of New Agers who have nothing else to offer you.
Oh,